Welcome back to the channel, everybody. AlleywayAccess here. Today we got an SMB for hackers video. Now I wanted to start a little series. Hopefully it's a series. We'll see how it goes. On just little maybe protocols, tools, concepts, that kind of stuff that are not only important but also very common, whether it's in CTFs or real life engagements, all that kind of stuff. Now I'm still learning myself, so this is also a way to help me learn, help me share my knowledge with you guys as I progress towards my journeys as well. You know what I'm saying? Before we get into the video, thank you so much for all the support you guys showed on the first two videos. I had to take a pretty long break. I hope you guys saw the community post. We were just grinding on school stuff, you know what I'm saying? But now we're back, and I appreciate you being here. So let's get into it. What is server message block? SMB, long story short, allows one machine to share its resources with other machines on the network. Okay, it can host a little thing. You guys will understand what these drawings mean in a little bit. I hope they're just it's to get the point across. But it allows one machine to host what it's got for the rest of the people on the network. Okay, now why is this important? Why do we care? Well, first off, before we talk about hacking SMB, what do we need to know about SMB? Well, high level overview. It used to run on NetBIOS over TCP IP. Y'all ever heard of something called NBT? Basically the same thing, but now it runs directly over TCP IP. The difference is in the older implementations, it would run on ports 137, 138, 139. And now, with its direct implementation, it'll run over 445. So, if you guys are attacking older machines, or if you guys are going, CTFs that are a little bit older, that kind of stuff, utilize older software, you may see 139, you may see 445. It just depends, okay? But mainly keep your eyes out for 445. Now, why is this important? What does SMB do for users, and most importantly, for hackers, okay? Well, for users, this protocol allows one machine, like I said, to host a folder, an application, whatever it wants, as something called a share. Okay, now these shares can be accessed by other people over the network without them needing to download or host anything themselves. Okay, this can be very useful for home networks where family members just want to share resources with each other, and especially, as you guys probably guessed, in organizations where they have employees, different departments, different groups of people that may all need to access the same things or different things on the same computer. And instead of sending these documents out to each employee, like I got over here, okay, you can just host a share on maybe the head of the department or maybe a dedicated server, and the employees can access them whenever they want, okay? So see here, this is bad example number one, boring example. If the head, he's like, bro, everybody in this network needs to have access to this file, he's sending it out to everybody, okay? Shooting that to everybody's computer, they all got to download it. But if you're running SMB, he can host his little pool, his little resource share, okay? Maybe he got some files, maybe he got some pictures, and then whoever wants to at the time can easily access that share as long as they got the correct permissions and do what they need to do. They can download stuff if they want. Maybe they just need to take a peek at something. But see, these guys, they don't need to use it right now. So they're not unnecessarily getting these files until they need them, okay? Now, what about for hackers? For hackers, we like when SMB is a little bit messed up, or when we can exploit it using credentials we already got. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. If these shares are not handled correctly, hackers can take advantage of them, okay? Think about if a hacker could get access to this share, they could potentially discover private information and maybe even credentials that only these guys were supposed to see, but now you're seeing it, okay? You could find credentials, you can find maybe even just other information to further your attack surface, all kinds of stuff. But how do we actually get involved with these shares? Well, the two main ways involve, one, applying any gathered credentials that you got. So say, you have Timmy's username and password and Timmy has access to this pool. If you just log into the pool as Timmy, guess what? You're good, okay? And number two is something called anonymous access. Now, I'm going to go over it more when we actually get to the exploiting part, but some shares can be set up where anybody can access them. If you just need a quick access, somebody can type in the username anonymous, which is crazy spooky, and no password, and they're instantly in, okay? Nothing else needed. So those are the two main ways. And while I'm sure that certain versions of SMB have vulnerabilities that can be just directly exploited using a CVE or something, Right now, I don't know too much about that just yet, and doing CTFs and practicing on my own time, I find myself using the previous two methods pretty often. So keep that in mind, but focus on the two that we're going to talk about. So before we get into the actual exploitation of these things, how do we enumerate SMB in the first place from a hacker's POV? Well, let's switch over to Kali and we'll take a look. Here we are in our Kali Linux machine. If you guys remember from our Nmap video, we do have our Metasploitable virtual machine over here. Where is he? He's hanging out with an IP address of 22135. Okay, so you guys can just keep that in the back of your mind. That's where we scanned. We did a little port scan, and you guys can see that we have SMB open. Okay, it has port 445 and 139 open. But how do we see the actual shares on this machine from a hacker's POV? Because if I'm just Timmy working in the office, I can see the shares, I can access the shares, we're chilling, okay? But if I'm a hacker, it's not that easy, okay? We're gonna need to bring some tools, maybe some different techniques, and keep in mind, I'm still learning. These are not the only ways to enumerate shares, but these are some of my favorite, okay? So the first method, since we already used Nmap for the port scan, how can we use Nmap to enumerate shares? Well, Nmap, we didn't cover it in my first video, but Nmap has something called the NSE or Nmap scripting engine. And long story short, it's a bunch of little modules that come along with Nmap that do enhanced stuff, bro. It gives it superpowers. And today, we're going to take advantage of one of those superpowers, which is SMB enumeration. So if we type Nmap dash script, okay, you guys can see I did one of these ages ago, I guess on a CTF or something. And if we put in SMB enum shares.nse, okay, this will call the script SMB enum shares, okay? Can we wonder what it does? Maybe it enumerates SMB shares. Who knows, really? Who knows? But then we just got to put in, I believe, the port. So let's do port 445 and then the IP address of our target 22.135. Now let's see what happens when we hit enter. Oh my goodness, that was fast. I didn't have to cut the video. Well, let's see if I can zoom out for you guys here. We see it brought something back, okay? SMB enum shares, and then we got all this going on. Now, it's a lot to look at, okay? But key takeaways. These lines show you the title of the shares. We got an admin share. We have an IPC. These are default ones. We have an OPT. Okay, interesting. A temp. Oh wait, OPT is accessing the temp file. We have a print one. We have a proper temp over here. We got a lot going on in this machine, of course, because it's supposed to be vulnerable. You can also see the anonymous access. Ooh, it's like we talked about it earlier. Anonymous access none, but anonymous access read and write. Okay, very interesting. So we can take this information, we can write it down, take some good notes. But what if we don't want to use Nmap? Okay, this is really good information. But what if I'm just not having a good day with Nmap? I want to use something else. Well, we can move on to another tool, called SMB map. Okay, you guys can see, I guess I also used this one ages ago on a CTF. Dash P, we're gonna do port what? 445, just to keep it concise and all the same. And if we do dash capital H, I always mess this one up. 192.168.22.135. Okay, hit that in. Let's see what happens. Whoa. Okay, so personally, I like the output of this one. It's really quick. It's really, look at this. It's like nice and, this one's all over the place, but it gives you a lot more information. This one's concise, okay? But we can see the same things. The titles of the shares, the permission that we got, and then, just little comments. Oh, no's. Maybe that means something, We can look into it. So that's another one. Now, as our final tool of the day, SMB client. This one has crazy functionality that we can get into a little bit later. Oh, you guys, there's a little spoiler for y'all. But if we come in here, do a dash L, I always think about it as dash capital L for list. I don't actually know what it means, or I forgot, my bad. But I just think of it as SMB client list and then 4 dashes. I got this one from Heath Adams, shout out to him, reminded me to always do the 4 dashes when I was doing his course. But then if we also put in the 192.168.22.135 and then another slash, I believe we hit enter. Oh, maybe it was not another slash. I lied. Oh, there we go. Okay, so anonymous login successful. Anonymous login successful over here as well. But we can still see this. Gives us the same information, same disk, We get a little comments. We don't get the permissions like SMB map does, but we still get the same information, right? Okay, so write that all down. It's good to have multiple versions, multiple ways to enumerate shares, but how can we actually take advantage of this? Let's get into it. So here we are. I've pulled up SMB map again just so we can get a clean look at all of the shares. Now, quick information we have to take in, okay? It shows all the shares, it shows comments, and then it shows permissions. Now, SMB map, when it does its enumeration, it does it from a anonymous standpoint. So it's like, how much information can I gather without any authentication whatsoever? Because I don't got a username, I don't got a password. How else can it look at it, you know? So all these permissions here are from an anonymous login standpoint. So no access, no access, no access, no access, but we see read and write over here, which means anonymous users should be able to read and write on the temp share, okay? So we get to employ anonymous login like I was talking about earlier. How can we go about this? Well, there are plenty of ways, I'm sure, to do it, but I like to rely on my good old friend, SMB client, like we used earlier. So before we did SMB clients capital L and we were all good with our lives. Well, today we are removing the capital L and we're doing 192.168.22.135. Okay, so now no capital L, we're just SMB client, and then the target IP address of our server, and you guys can see the little autofill here is giving away the next step, and then you're gonna double slash and put the share that you wish to access. So we can put IPC, OPT, admin, print, temp, whatever we want, but we know that anonymous users only have read-write access to the temp folder. So we're gonna put in TMP, hit enter, see what happens. It asks us for a password. Now, we are anonymous. And when you're doing anonymous login, there is no password. So just hit enter one more time. And look at that. Anonymous login successful. Okay, this is very good news. And if you want, you can hit a little LS. You can see what files are going on here. This is a temp folder on the Metasploitable. I haven't looked into it yet. So this is all random to me. But I'm sure it's very important. I'm sure it's something we can take advantage of. But also think about this. There's a write in here as well. So not only can we read all these files, but we can put our own files if we want to. Okay, just think about all the possibilities there are for different ways to take advantage of this. Okay, so along with that, you can hit help command. Oh, typo. You can hit the help command. Look at all this you can do just off SMB alone. Okay, so anonymous access is great, but what if, you know, anonymous access is turned off? What if all of these bad boys said no access? Well, aside from the exploits we talked about earlier, we can also take advantage of found credentials, gathered information. So this usually happens if we are like halfway through a test, or, you know, we just compromised an account already and we want to see where do these credentials fit. We have a username, we have a password. What do they have access to? So say we found, okay, we got in through temp. We went through, we compromised an account. Maybe we privilege escalated, but then we got stuck. Okay. Maybe we come back with new credentials and we check what's in the admin share, what's in OPT, what's in IPC, all that kind of stuff. Now, seeing as we're just doing tests, this will be a little bit less realistic, but we already know, for example, we already know that the username and password for the admin account on the on the Metasploitable, sorry, is MSF admin. So we can try this. -u MSF admin, which is the username, and then let's try to get into the admin $share. Okay, we can just attempt it. It's going to ask us for a password. We already know that it's also MSF admin. Any of you who also have the Metasploitable 2 VM at home, these are the default credentials. Hit enter, and look, we're also in. Okay, so it all just depends on what happens, what scenario you're in, what information you have. And of course, like I said earlier, I'm sure certain versions of SMB have just CVEs, have exploits you can run, all that kind of stuff. But these two ways are very quick, very easy ways to enumerate and just check, how can I use SMB as a hacker? How can I use this to get further in my attack? How can I use this to complete the CTF? All that kind of stuff. So I hope I was able to help you guys a little bit. That's all we're going to go in on SMB right now. Hope you guys have a little better understanding of the protocol as a whole, and hope this helps you, okay, in a CTF, in an engagement down the line, maybe a certification like that. And yeah, so anyways, that's all from me. Like I said at the start of the video, thank you guys for all the support. put in the comments anything really, as long as it's not like rude, I guess. And any suggestions for future videos, because I got you guys. I want to make videos for you and just document my progress really. So I'm learning, you're all learning, we got this together. So without taking any more of your time, thank you very much for being here. Hope you guys have a good day. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit.